How's it going, KYCK? My name is Jimmy. For the past 2 weeks I've been one of the photographers up here at KYCK, capturing some of the images that we've been seeing around the place. It's just been an amazing time. We've been able to see just hundreds of kids been able to respond over the last 2 weeks, and you obviously saw what happened last night. It was just an amazing response to what happened. So being a photographer at KYCK, it's just one of those things, you're not up on the stage doing something glamorous like in a band or one of the speakers. A lot of your work isn't really seen until, a few months later, or maybe even next year if it's seen at all.
So over the 3 weekends at KYCK, I'll probably take about 12,000 photos. Most of them are just rubbish, they'll get chucked down on the spot. They're probably too dark, or there's some random kids staring at the camera. And the shots that we use are searched for, they're crafted. We take a lot of care. Getting that one perfect shot is just the best feeling.
It was week 2, it was Saturday night, and David just finished his talk, and everyone had just gone out the back. It was absolutely pouring outside, and I was just, floating around with my camera. I had my 70-200mm lens on, just trying to look around and get the right shot. And I was looking through the tent, and I saw these 2 girls, and they were just embracing, having this massive hug. And I thought, okay, this will make a good image, so I just went out into the rain, and I took the shot, and I sort of, just took my time and went over it and make sure I got the shot right, just shooting over and over again. And we went back that night and we put it up on Facebook, and it had a massive response. It had about 600 likes in one night, which was huge. And I, thought, okay, this is good. I've done my job as a photographer. I can leave happy now. But what happened next was just amazing. One of the girls actually got in contact with me that week, and we started sending some emails back and forth. And she actually shared with me a story about what actually happened that night. Alright, so I'll just read out this email that she sent me. It's pretty amazing. Well, Emma and I had never even heard of each other before KYCK, but we both stood up and went outside with a group 2 on Saturday night. I had already sat down with a group of girls from my church and a counsellor from my church. 3 of us were in group 2 and 1 girl was in group 3. Just as we were about to start talking, Em came and sat down with us because she couldn't find anyone she knew. We then all shared our stories and why we had come outside, and Em and I had almost identical stories. We had both been in very dark mental mindsets for years and had recently been pushing God away and sinking lower into depression, anxiety, eating disorders, self-harm, and being bullied. Obviously this was quite an emotional thing for us to say. Even without going into detail, when Em was talking, I reached across and put my hand on her for support, since we both needed it when sharing our stories. Afterwards, I prayed for everyone, and when I was praying for myself and Em, I broke down, and she in return put a hand on me. As soon as I finished praying, Em and I leant across the circle and hugged each other. Our counsellor had to go and get the packages and hear they speak and so on, and almost all of us was crying to Em, and we got up and gave each other a proper hug.
And what just took place all means nothing if you don't continue in Jesus. You see, what's just taken place is amazing, thanks be to God, but if you don't continue following Jesus in a week, in 6 months, in 50 years, tonight means nothing. And so, Colossians chapter 2, verse 6 and 7 says this: "So then, just as you receive Christ Jesus as Lord, continue to live in Him, rooted and built up in Him and strengthened in the faith as you were taught, and overflowing with thanksgiving."
Reading this email for the first time was like getting a smack in the face from God. This photo had just taken on a whole new meaning, like a greater meaning right in front of me. It was always a photo about joy, the joy of receiving God. But now it was about the joy of desperation before God, of longing, of receiving this amazing compassion that's given so freely to us.
That He would die and take God's anger onto Himself so that we can live unburdened in His grace is just the most beautiful thing. And this is what it looks like.
Be my portion.